This crooner left his heart in San Francisco. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're taking a look at the life and career of Tony Bennett.
San Francisco.
Anthony Dominick Benedetto was born on August 3, 1926, in Queens, New York. He became interested in music before the age of 10 and decided to study the subject in high school, so he dropped out to find work a few years later. He did, however, continue to perform locally. After serving in the U.S. Army near the end of the Second World War, Benedetto worked on his singing skills at the American Theater Wing. His local performances soon landed him a spot in Bob Hope's traveling stage show by the end of the 1940s. It was around this time that he adopted the stage name Tony Bennett.
Joe Barry was the name. And
Joe Barry was what you were singing?
No. He said, "Now, what's your real name?" I said, "Anthony Dominick Benedetto." So he said, "Wait a minute, that's too long for the marquee." He says, "Let's Americanize it and call you Tony Bennett."
Bennett signed to Columbia Records in 1950 and had his first hit the next year. Bennett's reputation as a crooner of pop standards began to form with his second chart-topping hit.
Tried so hard, my dear, to show.
He quickly gained popularity among female teens. In 1952, he married Patricia Beach and then reached #1 again in 1953. After finding success with his recording of Stranger in Paradise from the Broadway musical Kismet, he soon made show tunes a staple of his repertoire. Things changed during the mid-1950s with the increasing popularity of rock and roll. Bennett began scoring fewer #1s, though several of his songs did chart in the Billboard Top 40.
Just in time, you found me just in time. Before you came, my time was running low.
In 1955, he released his first LP, Cloud 7, and then turned to his jazz interests with the next few projects. He found critical and commercial success with releases such as The Beat of My Heart and In Person. By the 1960s, Bennett had made a name for himself with a nightclub act that featured jazz and standards in the vein of Frank Sinatra. He released the classic pop record I Left My Heart in San Francisco in 1962, and this featured his Grammy-winning signature tune.
Well, I was terribly alone and forgotten in Manhattan.
The next year, he reached the 5th position on the charts with the album I Wanna Be Around. The mid-1960s were soon taken over by rock and roll and the Beatles-led British invasion. As a result, Bennett's record sales declined. He did, however, have a few minor hits and made his film debut in 1966's The Oscar.
You know, man, you're some kind of poison.
He attempted to record contemporary rock songs on Tony Sings the Great Hits of Today, but this effort did not boost sales. The 1970s were a period of struggle for Bennett. Personally, he faced his first divorce. This was followed by his second marriage to Sarah Grant and his eventual separation from her by the decade's end. He also developed a drug addiction. Professionally, despite some critical success, he was forced to close down the label he created, Improv Records, by 1977. Things turned around by the 1980s. His son Danny became his manager, and traditional pop music was coming back in style. Bennett returned to Columbia Records and released his comeback record, The Art of Excellence, in 1986. This was followed by a string of critical and commercial successes, including the Grammy-winning records Perfectly Frank and Steppin' Out in the early 1990s. Bennett found that he did not have to change his musical style or his appearance to attract the attention of a younger audience. This was made especially evident by his successful television performances, like his 1994 MTV Unplugged appearance.
It had to be you. It had to be you.
Bennett continued to win Grammys. Notable theme-based albums included Here's to the Ladies and Bennett Sings Ellington, Hot and Cold, while successful records featuring duets included Playin' with My Friends, Bennett Sings the Blues, and A Wonderful World. Showing no signs of retiring, Bennett carried on recording and touring throughout his 80s. His 2006 collection, Duets, an American classic, peaked at the 3rd position on the Billboard chart and became his highest charting record to date. The next year, Bennett married girlfriend Susan Crowe, and in 2008, he came out with the holiday album, A Swingin' Christmas. In 2011, he released the vocal jazz album,
Miss the Saturday Dance.
duets too. His multiple talents include singing and painting, and with these, Tony Bennett has proven that his art truly has staying power.
Don't get around much anymore.